All right, welcome back to Blue Rush. It's our New York Giants podcast from the New York Post. I'm Giants Super Bowl champ Brandon London. I'm joined by the usual crew. Again, it's two-time Giants Super Bowl champ kicker at LT for Kicks, Lawrence Tynes, and the Giants beat writer for the New York Post. Still out there, still out there in the hotel right now. Paul Schwartz is in the building. The Giants lose 24-6 in New Orleans and fall to 5-9. The playoff hopes are, I guess we can pretty much say that it's out of the window, depending on a miracle. Paul Tynes, what's up? I, I, I don't know. I don't know. Someone
That's
jump
fair.
in and
That's
please
that's
tell me, what did we just watch right now? I'm trying to be mellow.
You guys have been in the building. You guys have been in that building. You know what I mean? It's a hard building to play in. It's loud. When the Saints come marching in, the first down, who dat, whatever, that kind of, it's loud. It's a little rowdy. It's a little raunchy, and it's a hard place to play. The Giants made Derek Carr look like, Drew Brees, unfortunately for the Giants. And look, it was just a rotten game. Tommy Devito didn't throw the ball all over the place and have a lot of turnovers. No interceptions, no fumbles. But this was like an old school early season Giant game, right, guys? Not a lot of offense, a little bit of defense, but not enough when it counted. Just a rotten game. We'll talk about it later. The punter kicking a field goal was the only interesting thing to come out of this game. It was a return back to the bad old days of early in the season, and it was really a boring, kind of not really interesting game to watch. That was my take on it.
Tynes, tell me Jamie Gillan kicking 3 points on the night is not the highlight of our podcast.
Well, it is. It absolutely is the highlight.
Give us more. Give us
absolutely the highlight of the Highlands. My people, the nation, Scotland was rejoicing, having a few pints when the lefty slung it through there from 40 yards. That's actually really hard to do. And I'd like to give a lot of credit to Gunnar Olszewski for holding for a lefty, and credit Thomas McGahee for having those guys ready as a backup plan to make a big kick, to make it, listen, this was a 7-6 ball game, guys, at halftime.
Yeah.
As bad and lousy as the Giants played, the defense kept them in it, but 7-6 at halftime. And just for those stat keepers over there, Jamie Gillan becomes the third Scotsman to make a field goal for the New York Giants.
Well,
that is a very, very incredible stat.
I talked to him afterwards. Look, he said, I wish the result would have been better. But he said, Lawrence, you'll appreciate this. You know how we described, because I said, it's got to be pretty cool to kick to get a field goal.
Oh, yeah.
He said, oh, it's pretty cool to put it between the pipes on a Sunday.
That's awesome.
Right? Put it between the pipes on a Sunday. Now, in 2020, he tried one also at the end of the first half against the Jets when he was playing for the Browns. Okay. So I said, I know you missed that one. How did it go? He said, oh my God, that was awful. He said, I kicked it like a kickoff. It went like 10 yards deep in the end zone, and they were returning it. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to return my only field goal attempt. So now interestingly, he was limping, and he had to put on a sleeve on his left leg. He said there was a lot of tightness, and I said, really? He said, there's completely different muscles used to kick that field goal than his punt. Tell me about that, Lawrence, because he said it was tight, and he was limping a little bit after. He said a completely different motion.
Well, yeah. There's a reason traditionally punters last longer than kickers, is because a punting leg swing is just a natural leg swing, right? Up and down. A la girls softball, you see the underhand pitching motion. Those girls can pitch back-to-back days. So it's the same kind of concept. Kickers, a lot of twisting, a lot of torque, a lot of stopping real quick. And to be quite honest, we're talking about way too much kicking and punting here. I like it, but that's where we are. They lose 24-6. But let's not forget, this was a 7-6 ball game at halftime. And as poorly as they played, I'll say this. None of this game, absolutely none of it, is on Tommy DeVito. None. Zero. Nada. He didn't do a thing poorly. He didn't turn the ball over. We had free runners to the quarterback. We couldn't run the football. Jalen Hyatt And Slayton had 2 early drops on first downs, which makes 2nd and 2, 2nd and 3. Instead, it's 2nd and 10, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 6. Too many 3rd and longs, 2nd and longs. Nobody did anything well. I don't care about Slayton's stats. Those were all garbage stats late in the game. Nobody did anything well enough to win.
Zeros on Tommy DeVito then. You're putting
None of it. Absolutely none of this football game is on him.
As
well, I thought he could have avoided.
I have to look at how many sacks we're taking.
Yeah.
He has everybody on offense. It's on everybody. It's on the receivers, running backs, offensive line. He has to take some of the heat as well because
he can take some, but
it's a bad.
I'm just saying he is not the reason, and I'm not sitting here saying he's the savior of this franchise either long term. I'm just saying it's easy to say he didn't play well. Well, he didn't play poorly. I mean, the offensive line is the culprit, guys. We've been talking about this all season, 2-3 years long. Free runners to the quarterback. That's something they've really done a nice job of avoiding, but they had these free runners today. You know, the Saints said, to hell with it. We're not going to sit back in zone. We're coming after this kid, speed up his clock a little bit, and they did a nice job.
Once again, those inside twists and the games, they did them inside. And you know, Justin Pugh had his worst game. You know, he just did. You know, and he was ticked off afterwards. You know, Justin Pugh was mad at himself. He said, you know, I got to do better. You know, after and we'll talk about whether we think it was a dirty play or not. You know, Tommy DeVito goes into a slide. I thought he went to the slide a little late. Okay, and was it the former Giant Isaac Yiadom who hit him? Right, kind of hit him when he was sliding. No flag, and so the Giants' offensive linemen take umbrage with that, right? And they start, you know, getting into a ruckus on the field. There's no penalties or anything. And, you know, Justin Pugh was asked about it. He said, you know what? We needed to do, and I needed to do a better job of protecting him when he was in the pocket as a quarterback. So I'm not going to bitch about, you know, whether it was a flag or it was not a flag. He said, I think it should have been a flag, but he said, we have no right to complain because we didn't protect them in the pocket. And I thought that was, you know, nice accountability on Justin Pugh's part. And as far as DeVito, you know, Lawrence, you say, yeah, I mean, look, right. He wasn't putting the ball on the ground. He wasn't throwing 3 interceptions. He wasn't panicking. He blamed himself for a couple of throws, definitely one to Waller. He really wanted back. He said it was a natural throw. But you're right. Early in the game, Slayton and look, let's face it, you know, Jalen Hyatt, the rookie, wants to go deep, right? Wants to go deep. And he's done, and, you know, Brandon, I'm sure you can talk about this a lot more than I can. You know, those kind of slants inside and everything, he's getting bodied a little bit. You know, he had no catches on 3 targets, and that is something he needs to get better at and stronger at, right? Because he kind of gets bodied right off the ball in the middle of the field.
Absolutely. So before I go to Jalen Hyatt, I just want to say about Tommy DeVito, the Saints, you could tell by what they were doing, where they were sacking him and they were getting after him, their mindset where they were going to come after this kid. I think they felt like no other team, the Commanders, the Patriots. I think they were looking at the game plan like none of them really got after it and got physical with this kid. So we saw that one part. On the other part, when it comes to Jalen Hyatt and going on these slants and all, Tynes, you know who he is. He's this year's Cordell Flott. Very talented from the SEC, but they got by with being a little undersized when it came to the NFL. Jalen Hyatt's skill set is what? I'll run right by you. I'll run by you, your whole family, everybody. Throw it to me down the field. But when you get hands on them, and Paul, we've seen this. We saw a little bit of this in training camp when they were able to get hands on them. Guys, he wasn't physical enough to kind of get off of those. And those contested catches in that LBC linebacker country, just a little bit too much for him. So I think he's a year removed from being the 1B, 1A of this team because you get physical with him. He's not ready for that yet, but yeah, the Saints defense came out with some sort of mindset. Not Greg Williams there putting bounties on people, but you can tell they wanted to get after Tommy DeVito in this Giants offensive line Tynes. And I see you go ahead, hop in, because I just think that it wasn't enough there for the Giants offense to counter these punches that were coming after them.
Well, I think they just, they got to the RPO game too late. It was there. They were scared to get to it. They got to it because Saquon couldn't get going.
Why scared though? Why scared?
I'm not sure. I think maybe it was a dimension of his game. It's a dimension of Daniel's game. It's a dimension of Tyrod's game, it worked. I think you had to show it because every time Saquon got the ball, the linebackers were converging and just he had nowhere to go. Once he, obviously we talked about it last week. Once the RPO game got going and Tommy was a threat to pull that ball and run it, it opened up, those linebackers can't be quite as aggressive. But overall, listen, JMS and Pugh were terrible today. They stunk. And I'm not going to put this all on the offensive line, but like when two guys don't play well, look what happens. 7 sacks. I don't know where the rest of them came from, but overall, they were never in this football game, to be honest. I know it was 7-6, but.
Yeah, Demario Davis had his way. He had 10 tackles. Saquon said afterwards, he's one of the best linebackers I've ever played against. He said he thought he was great running downhill with power. And to their credit, the Giants did not complain about this when the Saints were doing it. Saquon said, you know what? We love that stuff and we did it and everyone sees it. And so when someone stops it and sticks it to you, you got to just take it. You got to just take it. They were, yeah. I mean, look, it was a lot this week. Jimmy Fallon is singing about DeVito. ESPN, Sports Center. Any NFL, get up, get down, get funky with it. Whatever shows they're having, right? Tommy DeVito is the lead story. It was really hot and heavy this week. And the Saints are sitting in New Orleans and saying, we're going to get this kid. And because the blocking up front was no good, they were able to do it. So yeah, I mean, look, it was fun while it lasted, right?
Can I say something real quick though? Can we be done with the agent on the sideline? Can we be done with the agent on the sideline?
In the green times, what did I say?
God bless him. I have not been inducted yet into the Scottish Hall of Fame. There's apparently an Italian Hall of Fame with a patch and a green suit. Congrats. The guy seems like an amazing man. I watched a lot of interviews last week. Nice guy. But come on. It's not about you. Let's get off the sideline. I've never had my agent in 13 years come on the sideline and hang out with me. And I get it. It's a business move. It's a power move. Look at me. I'll get more players. Nice guy. I'm not here trying to embarrass this fella. But it's not about you anymore. It's about Tommy DeVito, the football player. Like, I'm sure the Giants are probably going to be like, hey, look, come on. Let's go back into the stands. We don't need you on the sideline. Let Tommy play football. Let it be about Tommy. And then my second bitching moment. Randy Bullock. How do you hurt your hamstring? You know how you hurt your hamstring? You're out of shape.
Now working out.
You're out of shape. Not here personally attacking the young man, but he's out of shape. Doesn't look like a football player. Take care of your body better. Those things won't happen. I'm going to say that put the team in a bind. I think it changed how some things maybe were called. Now, they didn't threaten the end zone a lot, but, in the back of their head, they're thinking, we don't have a field goal kicker. That does change how sometimes coaches will call a game. You can't have soft tissue injuries as a kicker. You just can't.
Was that on the kickoff, do you think? Because he hit a long field goal, right? He hit a great
field goal. Fantastic field goal.
And then he does the kickoff, which was short. So you think he heard it on the kickoff would be your guess?
He did. That's what they showed on TV. Yeah. It looked like, looks like he heard it on the kickoff.
You ever hurt your hamstring on a kick?
No.
Okay.
No.
There, Paul.
Yeah.
You got to be ready. Like he's got to be in better shape. The guy's not in great shape. And that's not a personal attack on him.
It's not.
But he just needs to be in better shape physically. So.
Yeah, it was. If the game was close, it would have been fascinating to see.
Yes, it would have.
How far they would have gone with Gillan and things like that. And look, we have to talk about the defense. I mean, I thought this was probably Adoree Jackson's worst game. I mean, what happens at the beginning of the game, right? You hear Chris Olave is not playing. He really didn't practice all week. He was listed as questionable. They were going to try to run him out there in pregame, but he really wasn't close. They said so. He's down. So I'm like. That's their main weapon. The Giants should be able to do a decent job. They got no pressure on the quarterback, none. I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau did you hear his name? Did you hear his name today? Yeah, it's just I'm not getting on the guy. It's just he had a very quiet game. So David Carr is 23 for 28 with 3 touchdowns. I was sitting there and talking to some people from, New Orleans and everything, and they said, you watch and see how quickly they boo Derek Carr if things go badly, right? The first series they go 3-and-out, and then he starts getting booed. He was getting booed. He's throwing check down, short passes. They were there, but the Giants made it so easy for Carr, so easy with the protection. They did not cover. Pinnock, nice sack. He did not cover well. Adoree Jackson, bad penalty. He did not cover well. I don't think Banks had his best game, against a bunch of receivers who were, Shaheed is.
Now, I don't want to say pedestrian, but it's not Chris Olave. It's not Mike. It's can't guard Mike. So
that Shaheed guy could fly, by the way.
They need to be upset with themselves right now.
Well, they did not compliment themselves in any way.
They couldn't get home. There was absolutely zero pressure on the quarterback.
At all.
Zero.
And when you're playing, and when a Derek Carr is playing 7-on-7, and he's just sitting there patting the ball, he's going to knife you. And we talked about it in the pre-show where I was saying that some of his former Raiders teammates were like, if you get around him, he'll fold. It was none of that. We didn't get to see any of that. And I just don't know. Like, you can't, when it comes to defensively, offense, you can struggle a little bit when it comes to playing in the Superdome like that. You're playing on the road. You got to go silent count, all that. Defensively, it's quiet. They're on offense. You can make all the checks, everything you want. And you just didn't see that today. And it just goes to show what we talked about, what everyone was scared of. And times you said it, the defense not having a day like they've had these past 3 weeks. And then the spotlight was back on the offense to score points and make it into a shootout. It did not happen today. The defense couldn't get that.
Well, the Giants have been winning games with sacks and turnovers, right?
Yeah.
To be honest, on the defensive side of the ball, doing just enough on offense. They didn't have any of that today. I mean, the sack came from the secondary on a blitz with Pinnock. Nothing else. No turnovers, no sacks from the D-line. Kamara ran it well enough. Had some, a couple of explosive runs. But if the Giants don't get the run game going, which they did not, they have zero chance to win. And that's kind of what happened today.
And, Saquon early in these games, like he did nothing early, middle and late. He did nothing in the game. But early in the games, they just cannot run the ball. They cannot run the ball. Last week in the second half, he got going, with the long run and the fumble and things like that. But, it just sets a bad tone early when he can't run the ball. It's really difficult. And, you can't let Carr have a 134.8 quarterback rating. It was so easy at times for the Saints today. Didn't it just seem, they were playing well, but it seemed like, Shaheed, Bowen, Moreau, Kirkwood. I mean, these guys would just make, apparently their tight ends have not done much. Their tight ends had big games against the Giants. It was a strange, Tommy Devito was asked, and he said, we just didn't have that swagger. We didn't have that there were just too many lulls in the game. He said, I blame myself for that. And Saquon said, well, it's hard to have swagger when you're not doing anything right. And that was the case. I mean, it was really flat. It was a really flat performance on everybody's.
I love that they came out with the shot play to Slayton, first play.
Big shot.
But guys, it's just the old age football, right? It starts up front on both sides of the ball. And they just can't block well enough, didn't block well enough today to get anything going. That's pretty much summarizes the game. So
real quick, 10 seconds each. Paul, I'm gonna start with you. I'll go. Tynes, you kick us home. 10 seconds. Thoughts right now going into Philly, Philadelphia Eagles on Christmas Day. Let's wrap this up. I'll kick it to the Scotsman.
It's hard to believe that they haven't played the Eagles yet. The season seems like it's almost over, and they still have 2 games against the Eagles. Look, it was fun while it lasted. They went from 2-8 to 5-8. The Devito story was nice. This was a real jolt of reality. The playoffs are now gone. They're 5-9. They're not obviously going to make the playoffs. They weren't going to win out. This was not that kind of a team. And so, now it's back to the old stuff that you guys as players get asked, right? What is there to play for? Playing for pride. Anytime you put on the uniform, you're playing for the check. Everyone's watching, if not here, somewhere else. All that stuff that you hear in the locker room, it's all going to come out these last 3 games. That's it.
Yeah, for me, I would say like all the fun you had with this, teams are going to throw it in your face now. The Eagles are going to try and throw it in your face. Cooper Kupp and Puka may not do that, but the Rams are going to try and come here and beat you to throw that in your face. Be able to take it just like you have fun with it. Be able to be disciplined enough to, let's say these teams do score on you and they do that sort of stuff. Don't make it into a S show to where at home or on the road you're out there fighting or doing anything to make yourself look bad. It is what it is. Go out there and compete. The valuation's still there, but at the end of the day, it's like go out there, just play as best of football as you can do at this moment, and take the good with the bad times, and then throw it to the Scotsman times.
9 out of 11 seasons with a losing record. 9 out of the past 11 seasons. Think about that, guys. That's disgusting. It's terrible. That's like I retired 10 years ago. So basically every year except one. Losing 9 out of 11 losing seasons. I've just encouraged all my followers that celebrate Christmas to celebrate on the 24th or the 26th this year due to the Giants playing the Eagles on the 25th. They're going to ruin your Christmas holiday. They're going to ruin your day. Celebrate on the 24th or the 26th so you can enjoy your family. I'm just kidding, of course. Of course, we're all going to enjoy watching our Giants play on Monday. But listen, there's still a lot to play for. I know it's not going to be a winning record, but there's jobs on the line coming down the stretch here, just like there is every year. A lot of jobs on the line, like coaching jobs on the line. So, it's been a rough year. So the only good thing is there's only 3 of these things left. So,
all right, let's hear from the Scotsman.
And that says cheerio to episode 171, a losing edition of Blue Rush, our New York Giants podcast from the New York Post. Thanks to Jake Brown and Andrew Hartz for producing the show. Subscribe to Blue Rush on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your pods. Watch full episodes by subscribing to the New York Post Sports YouTube page. It gets me every once in a while. Just follow the Blue Rush playlist. Give us a wee thumbs up and comment below. What is your favorite Christmas meal? Wow, we dug deep for that one. For Brandon London, Paulie Schwartz, I'm Lawrence Tynes. We return on Thursday to preview the Giants matchup in Shite Philly against those bloody Eagles on Christmas Day. Thanks for listening to Blue Rush, folks. Happy holidays. Stay safe and cheerio!